Hi everyone, welcome to Sunny Day Discussions. I am Sunny Day. Again, I want to go through the mass shootings to start with. Between July 13th through the 16th, there were 10. And then I want to talk about SCOTUS's decision to eliminate affirmative action and some of the repercussions that have arisen from it. More than a dozen GOP district attorneys, or attorney generals, have sent a letter to major corporations warning them to stop using racial preferences in hiring and promotion decisions, threatening serious legal consequences, basically taking away the freedom to hire and make these decisions on their own. If there is a company who wants to be able to make that decision that wants to be able to hire based on race and inclusivity and equity, Republicans are saying they can't. So that is yet another freedom that is being stripped from the American people and corporations now by Republicans. And if you're a smaller company, I know they only sent it to like the major ones, the Fortune 500s, but it's not going to stop there. It will never stop at just a small percentage because they'll never be satisfied until we are a white Christo-fascist state. That is, I believe, their supreme goal. And that's what we have to watch out for. Because according to Republicans, any sort of diversity is bad and makes us weak. Even though military generals disagree, everyone else basically disagrees. The majority of the population disagrees. So now I want to go over some interesting polling that I came across. The first one is actress Dylan Mulvaney, who I had no clue who she was until the whole Bud Light scandal thing. But she has a higher approval rating than Ron DeSantis. Her favorability rating is a +8, and Ron DeSantis has a -10.3. If that doesn't tell you, I mean, I know it's not an official kind of a thing, but it just tells you a little bit more of the mindset of the general populace in America. And now, an even more interesting one is the Gallup Poll shows record low American pride. 38% of adults are proud to be an American. Now, if we break that down by party and age, 60% of Republicans have American pride and think everything's great. Only 29% of Democrats do, and 33% of independents. Now, for the age groups, 55 plus, 50% have American pride, or are proud to be an American, or proud of this country. 35 to 54, there's only 40%. And ages 18 to 34, 18%. And there's reasons for that, you know. They're seeing their rights being stripped away by the government. They're seeing the right to bodily autonomy for women and childbearing people being stripped away. They're seeing that they now have less rights than their mothers. They also are seeing like the reversal of affirmative action, which means racism is on the rise again. And it's just going to set us back even further. And a lot of this age bracket grew up not caring about race, not caring about sexuality or gender, and accepting all. And so this is just a huge slap in the face to them. attacks on the LGBTQ plus community. Again, they're seeing their rights, their friends, their families, their loved ones' rights being attacked. And they grew up, like I said before, with transgender friends, with LGBTQ plus friends. And the government is attacking them and trying to strip their rights and basically legislate them out of existence. And that's not okay. There is targeted attacks on the trans community. Again, trying to legislate them out of existence, trying to verbally bash them, and by calling them groomers, which is going to cause some real world violence. And they're seeing this unfold, and they're not okay. There is lack of gun reform. A lot of these people grew up having to have active shooter drills or surviving active shooters. And to them, it's wildly important to have common sense gun reform and some sort of gun control to help mitigate and minimize any further school shootings. And, I remember in 98, 99, right after I graduated from high school, Columbine, it was huge. There was other little mass shootings in schools, but it wasn't frequent and it wasn't well publicized. But Columbine brought awareness to that, and it's just increased from there. I never had active shooter drills in school. We had fire drills, earthquake drills. But active shooter drills did not exist when I was in school. So that tells you the progression of gun violence in our communities. The lack of taking climate change seriously. We're in a critical state right now, and they're younger, so they're going to live on this earth longer than the people who don't believe that climate change is actually happening. So they're concerned that this globe is going to be uninhabitable, and they want to do something about it, but politicians are twiddling their thumbs. There's some out there that are screaming, we need to do something about this, we need to prioritize this. But many others that are like, it's just cyclic. It'll go away. It's just cyclic. It's called weather. But that's not the case. And this age group also trusts the science. Whereas the older generations and politicians have been brainwashed. Well, not the politicians, but the older generations have been brainwashed by the politicians to not trust in the experts because it doesn't benefit their donors and big oil, all of that. So by their lack of action on climate, when we were first being warned about it, it's gotten worse, and we might not be able to change course if we don't act now. But politicians, again, are sitting on their ass debating it. And Biden, again, like I said, has claimed to be the best president for the environment, yet approved the Willow Project and a pipeline. So negating everything he's ever done in regards to helping the climate. Then there's low wages and high cost of living. This generation has such low wages and high costs of living, of everything, that they cannot purchase their own first home. A lot of times they can't even afford rent. And imagine going to college and trying to work, having to pay that bill, as well as any other bills. So a lot of them are actually staying at home with their parents because they can't afford to be on their own while they're in college. That's a huge issue. Tuition in college, wildly expensive. And it's making a lot of people decide not to go to school because they don't want to be burdened with that kind of debt. Lack of affordable health care. Most people cannot afford any sort of catastrophic healthcare incident, such as a cancer diagnosis or some sort of chronic long-term illness, because it will bankrupt them. And not everyone qualifies for government assistance, and not everyone can afford to pay for their own private health care. So there's a weight on their shoulders there as well, that our country is just like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, while not providing any bootstraps to hold on to. Now let's get back to some of the things that Republicans are trying to do. So Republicans have long been fighting against raising minimum wage. They say it will hurt the economy, that it'll hurt small businesses. But they're pushing giving themselves an $8,000 raise. If that doesn't show you that they don't care about the American people, they care about their profits, then I don't know what does, and you are willfully blind if you believe that they actually care. They already make $174,000 a year, and they have a month off at a time. Like, they're out for August. Most people don't get paid vacation or paid sick days, or very few paid sick days. And they're also wanting to slash social safety net programs such as SNAP, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. So while they're trying to enrich themselves by giving themselves this raise, they're trying to slash any assistance that the average person could possibly have from the government, while claiming that it's just a waste of government funding. It's going to incite laziness in people. But that's not true. Now, they also scream about the issue with military recruitment. Yet in their defense bill, they want to, and it passed in the House, they want to eliminate abortion access and diversity training. Almost 50% of our military are non-white. And high-ranking officials within the military say that the diversity within their ranks is what makes them stronger. Now, in the GOP's bill, defense spending bill, they propose to end coverage of transition surgeries and hormone treatments for transgender people. They also want to limit the specific flags flown at military installations, effectively banning the pride flag. But I just read an article briefly on this, so I don't know all of the details, but Viagra is covered by the military. So someone's erection and ability to get one is more important than reproductive health care for women, than hormone therapy and gender-affirming therapy for transgender people. So these men think that their wanker getting hard is more important. And that shows you where their priorities are. Now again, let's talk about their priorities and their whole, we're fighting the groomers to save the children. There were recently 5 members of the Jehovah's Witness Church that have been charged with child sex abuse in Philadelphia. And I hear nothing about that from anyone on the right, because they don't really care about the children. They care about their rhetoric, and the politicians care about distracting their base from the Republicans' lack of governing, from the Republicans not doing anything to benefit their constituents, by the Republicans wanting to strip every program that does help their constituents. So all of this screaming that the LGBTQ plus community and transgender people are groomers is a distraction And all of you Republican voters are falling for it. Now, I want to sound what could possibly be an alarm, or it could just be me reading into things. Either way, there have now been 4 Democratic lawmakers that have been elected that have then almost immediately switched parties to Republicans. And I can see that the Republicans' desperation to maintain power and their willingness to try to subvert democracy by trying to say that the state legislatures have supreme power over the elections, that they can just change the outcome of the election if they see fit, by their gerrymandering, by their voter suppression tactics, that I can see that this could possibly be another method to help them retain power. Because if someone's running as a Democrat and they're promising all these things, such as they're going to protect access to abortion, they're going to fight to raise the minimum wage, and they're saying all the right things that will help their approval ratings in the Democratic Party, and so the Democrats end up voting for them, and then they switch and then vote to strip women of their right for an abortion. That could very well be the next entry in their playbook. And I could be hysterical in my thinking in that process, but I don't think it's too unreasonable. And now I want to talk about the threat of a civil war. There's a lot of maggots, Make America Great Again Trump supporters, that are calling for a civil war, saying we need to have one in order to make this country great again. Well, in my opinion, we are in the middle of a civil war right now. It's just not the typical weapons and bombs and that kind of a thing that you think of when you think of a war. But right now, it's 2 parties with completely different ideologies and sets of morals that are fighting against each other. One party, I don't believe has any morals. I think they're in it for themselves and for greed. The other party has morals, but they're not necessarily willing to fight as hard for those morals as the Republican Party is fighting for themselves, to maintain their own power and to maintain their own finances and wealth. But that's the politicians. The people are also sparring in the desire for human rights and safety. You know, trans people want to live and just be and be accepted. Kids want to go to school and not be scared that they're going to get gunned down. People want to go to their church, their mosque, their temple, and be safe. But the other part of the people don't want that. They want easy access to firearms. They want to eliminate mosques, to eliminate temples, to make everything Christian. And I know that's not a blanket statement that all conservatives all want white nationalism and all Democrats are cowards and don't want to fight. That's not a blanket statement. That is just the loudest parts of this battle. Now, I think that if people actually sat down from both sides of the aisle and talked to each other, had a discussion, they would realize that we actually have a lot more in common than we thought. Not the extremists, the maggots, the ones who want a fascist society, the ones who will support Trump no matter what. I don't think you can have a conversation with them. I don't think there's anything that a Democrat could say that they would agree with, whether they actually agree with it or not. I think they would fight it just because that person has a D by their name. But the average people can sit down and talk and realize that a lot of the problems within our society We all agree that that is a problem, but the differences are how to fix that problem. And I'm sure that a lot of these people that are anti-trans, if they sat down with someone who is trans and had an honest, genuine discussion, that phobia might turn away, that they might realize that they're people. If they sat down with a Muslim and just talked and asked questions and got honest answers and feedback, that they would realize that we're all just people and we all are suffering under the same conditions and that we all want to fix it. So that's what I have. Vote, no matter how big, small, and consequential your vote matters, and read. Read everything you can get your hands on. And I will see you next time.